Hello.
Oh, hi.
I guess we're the only ones for now.
Okay. Hello. Do we have Hames on here?
Hamis, yeah, I'm on. I think.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys can see me or not.
Evelyn, can you see her?
No, I just have your photo.
I just have that too.
How do I turn it on? Is it on now?
Yeah.
I got it.
And then we have one more joining.
Yes, I think so.
So are we gonna have just everybody go and then in one big link just submit it? I think she said, because I think we can do that and you just have to say underneath your link what time your presentation is.
Yeah.
Might be easier than all of us trying to reset video.
I think I agree with that. Yeah.
So we just wait now.
Is there one more person? I thought it was just the four of us.
This other person joined in last minute.
Oh, really?
So,
For the discussion, I guess, do we just give corrections and talk about what we thought ours were like?
I have no idea. I don't know if we're supposed to talk about the topic or give feedback.
yeah, I kind of was just going to talk about the pros and cons, and then y'all maybe could give some input on kind of what y'all think about my policy change type thing. Just kind of opinion, I guess. I don't know.
That's probably smart, yeah.
Something like that. I don't hear. I wonder if this girl responded in Blackboard. Because aren't we missing Bianca?
Yeah. Oh, there she is.
Oh, is she here now?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Okay, wait 1 second. Okay, so I guess I'll start.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hello, everyone. So today I would like to talk about how the drinking age should return to 18 in order to enable healthier drinking habits at a young age. Do you know someone who died in a drunk driving accident? Well, unfortunately, this is a very common tragedy that happens in today's society. According to the Journal of Economic Perspectives and the U.S. National Library of Science, many college presidents and other high school principals think that the drinking age should be lowered to 18 in order to eliminate deaths and other deaths related to drinking. Since students in high school are technically not allowed to drink, this makes them want to drink even more so, which leads to driving under the influence and going behind authorities' back in order to drink. Solving the case related to lowering the drinking age should be done through comparisons and different types of research. In the journal, it specifically talks about how deaths due to motor vehicle accidents recentered around the time period in which the minimum legal drinking age was raised back to 21. So this actually proves that it is safer for the drinking age to return to 18 in order to eliminate deaths due to drunk driving. So the specific figure in the journal actually shows the trends towards the effect of the minimum legal drinking on mortality rates. A specific quote in the journal says that the estimates of the effect of minimum legal drinking age on mortality for the subgroups described above in the figure are consistent with the large body of previous research showing that the minimum legal drinking age has economically significant effects on the motor vehicle mortality rates of young adults. This data was gathered because more than 100 college presidents and other higher education officials signed this thing called the Amethyst Initiative because they believe that having the drinking age lower would actually prevent more motor vehicle accidents overall. So I actually think that this is a great argument towards lowering the drinking age to 18 because it provides specific data that proves the argument. So moving on. It is okay that the drinking age be lowered because it will help educate children into their teens and 20s on how to actually consume alcohol in moderation and in a mature way. It is common that in some places like France, actually, that parents give their kids alcohol to go with their dinner, just like a little bit of wine or something. So other countries allow younger than 21 to drink, so US should do the same. Research does actually show that the younger the drinking age, the less deaths due to alcohol occurred. So according to the article by Brandon Griggs, who is arguing for a cultural model, he believes that the drinking should be lowered to 18 because there is too much binge drinking occurring. He states that by serving small amounts of wine to children at dinner, parents educate their kids about alcohol and rob drinking of its taboo allure, which can make rebellious teenagers sneak off to basements and backwoods to binge drink far from adult supervision. Although the US is one of the only developed countries that have a minimum drinking age of 21 and not 18, most other developed countries have a minimum drinking age of 21 and not 18. So some examples are Iceland, Japan, France, and it seems to work just fine. Actually, Heath states that the younger the people start to drink, the safer they are. Most students come to college as 18-year-olds and drink anyways behind closed doors. And this makes it hard for people in charge on college campuses to enforce the laws when most of the student body is drinking anyways. Therefore, reference to the same article that Brandon Griggs wrote for CNN, McCardle, who is the president of the University of the South, which is actually located in Tennessee, believes that it is specifically hard to enforce the rules when 70% of the body drinks under the age of 21. According to psychology, there are certain pros to drinking at the age of 18. For example, it is proven that when someone is told to not do something, they want to actually do it even more. Therefore, if the drinking age was lowered to 18, then people would not be as tempted to drink underage in college all the time. According to the pros and cons article on the Psychology Today website, they believe that it should solely be up to school and parents to guide their children in a way that teaches them to drink responsibly. So lowering the drinking age to 18 would increase health benefits. Binge drinking is a huge part of the drinking age, being 21 right now, and it is a health risk because it can actually lead to alcoholism. Therefore, the drinking age should be lowered to 18, and students should be given a responsible drinking class in high school. Since 18-year-olds are able to vote and fight in the Army and be considered an adult in society, they should be allowed to drink at 18. Moving on. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, the U.S. Department of Human Services state that the drinking age was originally 21 years old. But after the 26th Amendment was passed, the drinking age was changed to 18 because people in charge believe that if you could vote and you could fight, that it should be that. So, since originally the 18th Amendment consisted of all liquor not being allowed to be sold, but then was repealed, and alcohol was only for people who were 21 years and older. Although the states did decide to lower it to between 18 and 20 after the 26th Amendment, because this is when 18-year-olds were now allowed to vote. Later on, the national minimum drinking age was enforced, and this meant that the minimum drinking age was and still is today 21. So in concluding, lowering the drinking age to 18 would increase health benefits, eliminate binge drinking, allow students to be educated earlier, and allow the US to be more up to date with other countries. This change would also be more fair since 18-year-olds are considered legal, able to vote, and able to fight for the United States. This change would affect the United States for the better and save lives daily that are due to alcohol consumption. Thank you. Okay, so, and moving forward, I'd like to discuss the policy change that I just brought up. about lowering the drinking age to 18. So are there any questions that y'all would like to ask me about the policy change?
I have a question.
Yes,
Are you in a sorority?
I am. Yes.
Okay. Do you feel like you being in a sorority has had an influence on you wanting to lower the drinking age?
I wouldn't say so because I actually don't drink, but I've just seen a lot of research behind it, and I feel like it being lowered to 18 would be beneficial in many ways. And my mom growing up actually had the drinking age at 18, and she's never been an alcoholic or anything like that. So I just think that it kind of teaches people when they're younger, like, I guess, how to drink in moderation before they get to college and then they're away from their parents and it might be like more new to them, kind of when they're not with them. So that's just kind of my take on it.
Okay.
Yeah. Great question.
I really liked your topic, and I've got family in Europe who drink young, like younger cousins, and it's just normal. Why did you decide to do this topic? Because you said you didn't drink, so what made you
I guess it just kind of interests me because, like, being in a sorority, like, everyone around me does pretty much drink, like, a lot. And so I just kind of wanted to dive into it. And actually, one of my friends brought it up one day, like, oh my goodness, like, the drinking age, like, used to be 18, now it's 21. Like, what if it went back? And so I was kind of like, that's actually pretty interesting. Like, I'll do my speech, presentation on that. So that's kind of how I came to wanting to do this topic. So thank you. Are there any more questions or?
Do you have any personal experiences with this topic and why you would want to do it?
I
did the same topic, that's why I was asking that.
That's funny. I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't really, other than my mom, like, she's 60, so other than her growing up with the drinking age being 18, I never have really, I guess, thought about, I don't know. I guess not really. Just kind of thought it was interesting, and my friend brought it up, and since my mom was raised during that time, that's kind of why I decided to do it. So, yeah.
I do have one question. So I know that you said that your mom, I think back then, like, they had the drinking age of 18. Do you think they'll, like, change it? Do you think? Like, is there are there bills, do you think? Like, if they have any?
Like, is there good proof to change it? Is that kind of your question?
That's kind of what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, I'm looking at, like, the research that I've honestly done, like, on this topic. I mean, I feel like there is good evidence kind of that they could change it back. Now, will they? I don't know, since they did, like, already change it to 21 and it used to be like 18. So I don't know. I kind of think they'll keep it, but I think it would be okay if they changed it too. I mean, because my biggest thing is, like, you can fight for your country and, like, you can't just have, like, a beer. I kind of feel like that's just kind of weird. So, yeah. What do y'all think some pros and cons are about this topic? Do y'all have any ideas?
I mean, my family's Egyptian, so I like grew up like drinking with my parents. Like we have like no problem. And because of that, I never felt like, oh my God, I have to sneak a beer or I have to I want to get drunk with my friends. Like I never felt like that. And I do feel like it was because of my upbringing. It was like normal to have wine. We were like 15, 16, even like 14, it was just normal. So I think because of that, I never felt like the rebellious part of drinking.
Exactly.
I was from Italy, so my family doesn't see, they get really actually heated on this topic because to them, they were able to drink with their parents when they were 15. And they said that the binge drinking where they lived was nothing like it is here. They said it was so different. It was so safer. And
yeah, no, those are absolutely great points. And I do think, like, if you're, like in France, how they said, like, they'll give their kids a little glass of wine or something at dinner, I think that does just kind of like lead to a moderation of drinking and not like let me binge drink like that. But
and I feel like when you go off to college, there's such a big like binge and bar environment that if kids were like more educated in school or when we were younger, our parents taught us more about it. It's like I've had family that's had issues with it, so my parents were very big on like my siblings and I with teaching us, and before we went off to college, like making sure we knew all this stuff. So it's like I feel like if you're educated, or even like in a lot of European countries, you know, they drink young.
Right.
I feel like it's less likely for there to be like accidents and anything bad happening because people aren't trying to sneak around to drink.
Yeah, for sure. I think those are absolutely great points. So, well, thank y'all so much. And I guess I'm done with my part. So,
You're good.
I'll go next then, unless anybody else wants to go.
yeah, should I switch it to you? Is it like, or do I keep it like on
I
me?
think you can just like click on the person's face.
Yeah, I can click on myself, so I think I'm good.
Okay.
All right. So, there are a lot of issues ranging from a wide variety of topics that have come into light in the past decade over current policies in place, and paid sick and maternity leave has been a topic of debate in the United States for years. And this past decade, there's been a really big push for reform from working class citizens, families, single parents, etc. And currently, the United States is the only industrialized country that does not enforce paid sick and maternity leave at a federal level, which is kind of surprising to me because you'd think a country like the US, that's very rich, influential, and powerful, would provide its citizens with paid leave. However, it's not the case in a lot of situations when it comes to medical policies in this country. But several states, such as California and New York, have leave plans that are actually longer in length than the plans at the federal level. And the current Family and Medical Leave Act provides certain employees with up to 12 weeks of unpaid job protected leave per year. But this plan isn't good enough for the working class of America, and a new policy to require all companies to provide paid sick and maternity leave at a federal level must be enforced. And after doing some research, I found that both Democrats and Republicans are pretty much on the same page when it comes to paid leave. In an article from the Business Insider, which is a financial and business news site, it stated that while more Democrats than Republicans support paid leave, the divide's actually not that big, with a 10 to 15% difference. So you would wonder then, why don't we have a federal policy that requires all companies to have paid sick and maternity leave? One reason could be because of the values that many Americans place in individualism and business. And there became this idea that in order to achieve this American dream, taking time off from work to care for kids, assist sick or old relatives in need, or to get over an illness yourself was not a possibility. And so parents end up having to sacrifice quality time with their children because they have to pay rent or the electric and water bills, buy groceries, get gas. And actually, a parent named Crystal Weston from North Carolina told her story and said that not being paid while taking time off from to care for her newborn felt like a slap in the face from the US. So many parents end up turning to public assistance for help, which I don't think is okay. And actually, in January of this year, Sweden passed a law that required a minimum of 80% of a worker's income be paid for 364 days, and 75% of that income for a max of 550 days. And so you see that many industrialized countries are changing or having laws already that benefit the workers more than the policies that are in place in the US. In an article from the New York Times is the upshot, it detailed the risks of not offering paid sick and parental leave, and they included decreasing the spread of disease, enhanced productivity, less chance of injury on the job. And the author stated that each week, about 1.5 million Americans without paid sick leave go to work despite feeling ill. And at least half of employees of restaurants and hospitals go to work with the cold or even the flu. And can you imagine going out to eat with friends or family and seeing someone that works at that restaurant coughing around the food you're going to eat? No one really wants to experience that, and I can bet you the worker would rather be at home resting up. However, the fear of losing money is a big issue, so these workers end up going. In a Bloomberg article, Rebecca Greenfield stated that 20 of the biggest companies in America are offering some maternity leave for parents of all genders and status. However, she said that the new offer is to appease the working parents so that these companies don't have to raise their wages. And even companies that offer parental leave don't always offer it to all their workers, only some of them can get that benefit. And there's still no mandate saying that leave be paid. And again, many states and cities end up having their own paid leave laws in place. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics said that only 15% of US workers in 2017 got any paid family leave. During his State of the Union address in 2015, President Obama said that we're the only advanced country on earth that doesn't guarantee paid sick leave or paid mandatory leave to our workers, and that forces too many parents to make the gut-wrenching choice between a paycheck and a sick child at home. And his office of the press secretary actually released an article stating how the president had signed an executive order requiring federal contractors to offer their employees up to 7 days of paid sick leave a year. And in 2016, President Obama also had a budget that included over $2 billion in funds to encourage states to establish paid family and medical leave programs. Yet we still don't see that many major policy changes at the federal level. And today, employers aren't obligated to pay employees for maternity leave, and the employees have to claim maternity benefits through the Department of Labor. So many of these companies can still decide whether or not to pay their workers for leave. But most recently, Massachusetts became the sixth state to have a paid family leave law, and it stated that new parents would get up to 12 weeks of paid leave. So in conclusion, we need more people, especially those holding office, such as Congress, to step up and take action. And a nation like the United States that's compiled of so many hardworking people shouldn't be behind in providing necessary paid leave for its workers. And a new policy reform needs to be passed at a federal level that requires companies to offer their workers paid sick and maternity leave. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions about it, or like how the difference is in the states?
Sorry, my computer keeps glitching. So you may have already said this, but is there a law that has like a minimum required maternity leave?
Right now, with the act that's in place, there's 12 weeks of unpaid job protected leave a year. So technically, you can get 12 weeks off, but you're not guaranteed to be getting paid, which in my opinion is a little bit silly. But yeah, that's the only federal mandate currently out there, but it's been brought up. I know in the Trump administration, I think Ivanka's been big about trying to bring this up, and So Congress has been talking about it, but nothing mandatory's been made that's requiring for paid leave. Any other questions, comments?
I don't want to go to work when I'm sick, so.
Yeah, when I read about the amount of workers that in the hospitals and restaurants that go with like the flu, I'm kind of blown away.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be happening, because like hospitals, that's such an easy place for people who are sick to get more sick. And
Yeah, it really got my attention, and I thought it was good that you brought up in your speech about like, would you want people coughing on your food or something at like when you're at a restaurant? And I was thinking like, no, like I don't want sick people, you know, if you can go out to eat and just want to have a enjoyable meal, you don't want to get sick. So
yeah,
that was a great point.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, I think I'm
Is
done.
that mine? Or is that somebody else's? Does anyone know that fire alarm that keeps beeping?
A fire alarm?
Yeah, that. I want to make sure if I have to change it. Sorry to stop everyone, but
No,
is that?
I don't know what that.
I can't tell if that's mine. Okay, keep going.
Does anybody want to go next?
You want to go?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna start. Hold on. Let me do this timer thing before I ramble. Wait, I think that's mine.
I was gonna say. I was like, I don't see a fire.
It's mine. I'll deal with that in a second. Okay. So I'm not gonna like really blatantly say my topic right away. I'm gonna kind of like say some words, and you guys will be able to catch on. So this is kind of a serious topic, so let me stop laughing. Okay. Columbine, Las Vegas, Sandy Hook. I forgot the last one. But they're all school shootings, or not school shootings, but they're all mass shootings that have happened in the United States. And my topic is about gun control. So it's kind of a sensitive topic because some people are like pro-gun and some people are like not pro-gun. And if you are, that's fine. But the whole entire thing about gun reform is not that it's like, oh, we're going to take away everybody's guns. It's really just like, we want more like stricter rules on the guns, like background checks, letters of reference, and stuff like that. Like it shouldn't be that easy for like a 19, 20-year-old to walk into a shop, buy a gun, and then walk to a school and, you know, shoot up 60 kids. You know, it's unfair. And a lot of parents have lost their children due to this topic, and it's pretty sad. I got some of my information from Center of Disease and Control. I don't know why they had these statistics, but they did. The U.S. has a gun violence rate 16 times more than Germany, and it's 6 times more than Canada. So, and then they approximated it to like 1 out of every day of the 365 days in the year, possible gun violence occurs in the United States. Not necessarily mass shootings, but gun violence as a whole. So, and while I was doing this research, before I was doing it, actually, I was like on TV and watching the presidential, like prospective presidential candidates for the next upcoming election. And one of them was, what's her name? Kamala Harris. So yeah, she's a Democratic and she's for gun control. And she was saying that if she got elected, she would give Congress 100 days to get their act together and put some true gun control rules in. Because since I think Columbine for 20 years, the Congress hasn't made any type of reform in gun control or anything of that matter. You know, we've had the same type of rules that we've had for a while, and it's not proving any results. And from the National Gun and Violence Archive, they have stated that states that have tighter gun control laws, like Massachusetts, Colorado, and one more I can't remember right now, they have a lower death by gun rate than other states. And I remember, I'm sure you all do too, when I was in middle school, high school, even elementary, you know, whenever they like shut off the lights in the classroom and they like make you get under your desk and like you all kind of like go in a corner or whatever. And they're kind of like, you know, doing the drill. But, you know, even with these drills and even with these things in place, these things happen inevitably, and it's really sad. And I remember, I think it was like my freshman year in college when the guy in Florida went to that school, and he like shot up all those, like basically so many kids and even adults too. And that was the last time those parents were ever gonna, you know, see their kids in the morning. Like, you know, they weren't expecting that some guy was gonna come in and shoot up the school. And how easy was it that he's even able to get into the school? So I was like fathomed, and even like an hour after the shooting, you know, he was like at a Walmart, like getting a Subway drink and a sandwich after he just killed so many people. And I was just like, I was freaking out because like, you know, I couldn't believe that, you know, these things are happening. So I'm for gun control. I really think there needs to be a lot more reform than what's going on now. There needs to be extensive background checks, psychiatric checks. Like, you know, these people, I believe always like they always have something wrong with them. Like maybe like a void that wasn't filled, or like, you know, they're not all the way straight up there. And that's why these things are happening. But it's not like a coincidence that all these people have guns fall into their hands. Like, no, it's not a coincidence. And if we can do something to stop it, I don't know why we wouldn't. So that's what my policy change is. And yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts about it?
I just want to say you did great. I like all the examples you used and everything. Why did you specifically use this topic?
So I was watching on the TV, I was watching Kamala Harris, and I was like, oh, she looks pretty cool. And the way she was talking was like super moving. All her ethos and stuff that we learned. So yeah, she was really moving in her in what she was talking about. And I've always been for pro gun control. Like I've always been so against that people so young, not even so young, like even like young and old people, you know, go up to schools for whatever reasons they have, and they do these, you know, horrid things. And I've always been for like, why is it so easy for this to happen? Why have we not made a change after so many occurrences have happened? Have we not learned our lesson? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of why I was like, you know what, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks.
Oh, sorry.
All right, no, go ahead.
I thought it was a really good topic, especially since it's become such like a big thing, not just in the US, but in a couple countries across the world now. But I remember a couple years ago, like on the news, when like President Obama, I think, said it was one of his worst moments as president when they didn't get anything accomplished, and that gun control was still a bipartisan debate. And I don't know, I just wanted to know like why you think there's so many people that are still so set on not having like gun control passed.
I actually did, when I was doing research about this, I was wondering, because even at our school, I don't know if some of you like actually go to on-campus classes, but I always see these little stands that say I'm pro-gun, and you know, try to convince me otherwise, and I'd be like, girl. So yeah, so I was asking the girl, it was like 2-3 days ago. It was Wednesday actually. Yeah, I was asking her like, you know, why are you pro-gun, and she was just saying like they have sort of a fear of it's gonna be like no guns at all, like everyone's gonna get stripped of their guns. And I was like, you know, but it's not like that. It's just we just want a gun reform. It's not like we want to strip everybody of their guns. You know, those who want guns, and the U.S. is one of the countries who have the right to bear arms constitutionally. So yeah, we should, you know, carry that out. But I think it's to an extent. You know, we shouldn't be allowed to cause harm with this right that we were given in our Constitution. So yeah, and I also liked, you know, what you said about Obama during I don't know if it was during his presidency or during his like campaign. there was a shooting in Charleston, and he was like talking about how he wanted to bring up the topic of gun control right after the shooting happened, and a lot of people that were pro-gun were like, why are you bringing up the topic of gun control after such a sensitive thing just happened? Don't you think we shouldn't really talk about politics right now? It's not really a right time. And, you know, if it's not the right time now, when is it the right time? It's never going to be the right time, because as you see, more and more occurrences of shootings are happening. You know, it's never the right time. You know, it needs to be talked about sooner rather than later. So, yeah. Does anyone have any questions?
I have one question. So I think you talked about, I don't know if you talked about it earlier or not, but you're talking about other countries. Do you know if other countries have like their policy with gun control?
Yeah, a lot of countries actually, the only people that are allowed to have guns are like those higher up in, I guess, I don't want to say Congress, because I know people don't have really a Congress, but like in their legislative circle, and policemen. Other than that, most countries don't allow people to personally own guns in the home. To like a police officer or some type of officer of ranking, or some type of somebody holding office, legislature, you have security. Other than that, like, people don't normally hold guns in their home.
So going off of that, are like other countries, do they have a lot less?
They have a lower gun violence rate, because it's like really hard to attain these weapons because they don't have weapons. The U.S. has an array of weapons, and that's why we have such access to get to these weapons. So like sign a paper here, do a background check, a little background check, not really expensive, and there I have my gun. And I'm 20, I can go get a gun right now. So it's just kind of that stuff. It's just we make it so easy, and it shouldn't be like that. So yeah, that's all I have.
Do you want to go next, or do you want me to?
Oh, I don't really care. Whatever works.
Okay. I can go next. I'm sorry that I have the same topics. You guys literally have to listen to the same speech like over again.
You are a guest in our group forum.
I know, you guys are just doing the same thing all over again. Okay. So in 1984, the U.S. Congress raised the minimum legal drinking age in all 50 states from 18 years old to 21 years old. So this was, again, when my parents, just like Mallory's parents, were growing up. I'm advocating for Congress to change the policy of the minimum legal drinking age back to 18 years old. And because of this law being changed, when our parents were kids, their right was actually taken away from them. So when my mom turned 18, she wasn't able to drink literally the year she turned 18. She was supposed to go out for an 18th birthday, like a 21st birthday, and have fun with her friends, and it was actually taken away from them just like that. And in the United States, one receives the rights and responsibilities of adulthood at 18, and that's the dictionary definition of adulthood. You can vote, smoke cigarettes, serve jury duty, get married, join the military, and even be prosecuted. And a teenager who turns 18 is an adult in every sense except for the consumption of alcohol. They have every other legal right of an adult except for alcohol. And roughly 77% of legal drinking ages in different countries across the globe have drinking ages of 18 or some even lower. There's some countries that don't even have a drinking age. It's been said that because of this, other countries tend to have less teenage binge drinking issues, as well as significantly less drunk driving accidents. A petition to the U.S. Congress that I read about, it's on change.org. They provided research that suggested that the decrease in drunk driving accidents wasn't actually necessarily due to the increased drinking age. So they claim that when the drinking age went up to 21, that there was less drunk driving accidents. But this article claims that it was actually due to other external factors that went on through the years, not exactly that they increased the driving age. So this is factors such as increased public awareness of the danger of drunk driving, increased police focus on it, and increased judicial penalties for the crime, meaning that there was a lot more penalty and consequences if you were to be caught drunk driving. And lowering the drinking age was most likely not the reason for the decline of this. And in fact, studies show that twice as many 21-year-olds die in alcohol-related audio accidents as 18-year-olds do. And to share a personal story, I actually had, and this is most of the reason I decided to do this topic, I had 3 people, they were seniors when I was sophomores in high school, and they passed away from an underage drunk driving accident. They were escaping from a party that had been busted for underage drinking. They had just turned 18. They were about to go to college, and the police officers were coming in to give everyone citations or minor in possession tickets. And I just think this is something that could have been so easily prevented because they were safe. They were drinking with their friends. They were 18. They felt that they were an adult and they had the right to drink. And instead, they were in a fatal accident. All three of them passed away that night because they were trying to escape from the cops. And I think that like hits really close to home. And when that happened, it happened in Maryland. I'm from Maryland, and Maryland actually passed a law that it's called the Alex and Calvin law for the boys that passed away. And it's a law that prohibits parents from having the parties where underage drinking occurs. So if you get caught as a parent hosting an underage drinking party, even if you don't know about it, you get jail time. And I just think that focuses on the absolute wrong point in all of this. And being in a sorority and stuff as well, to add, has kind of just, I've seen it so firsthand, and I've had such a personal experience with it. And I've seen people, you know, in Greek life, people have passed away from binge drinking before trying to go out because they feel like they have to do it before they're getting caught doing it outside of a safe zone. So another primary reason for raising the drinking age to 21 was because of science in the adolescent brain and the negative effects of alcohol that it could have on it. But according to an article by Choose Responsibility, which is basically an organization for choosing to responsibly drink, the educated staff that wrote this actually showed studies that alcohol affects the development of the brain a lot differently than most would assume. Most people assume that it has very negative effects on your brain when you're an adolescent because you're still developing. And although it is true that the brain is still continuing to develop into a person's 20s, this organization provides science that proves that even though alcohol affects some parts of the brain more powerfully during adolescence, it also affects some parts of the brain less powerfully during this time. So some parts of the brain are actually more affected by alcohol when you're over 21. And so technically the adolescent brain is not more or less sensitive to alcohol. And in addition to the effects on the brain, there are also studies that illustrate proven health benefits with the consumption of alcohol. And I know that sounds crazy because it is really bad for your liver. But according to an article written by Allie Throm, she's a teenager that did a bunch of research on it for a page called The Daily Nebraskan in 2017. There actually is some truth to the saying that alcohol has health benefits. It makes you live longer and all those sayings that people just think are a myth. And it actually says that light to moderate consumption of alcohol can actually decrease the likelihood of certain diseases, such as heart attacks, coronary heart disease, heart failure, and hypertension, and so many more. So even though it might not make you live longer, it does have a lot of actual health benefits that are proven through science. And perhaps the most significant reason that the federal law raised the drinking age was simply the attempt to decrease the number of teenagers drinking as a whole. And I think this just, through all the research I've done with all these articles, this had an adverse effect on the actual amount that teenagers drink. So all the sources I researched all consistently argued that the increase of binge drinking in teenagers after the minimum drinking age was raised to 21 was like out of the roof. Like it went from, it was a percentage of I think 13 to 19, something like that. So it really did have a huge effect on how much teenagers drank. And despite legality, teenagers in the US continue to indulge on alcohol anyways. So in an article written by a psychologist named Dale Archer, he includes research from Dr. David J. Hansen, who has studied alcohol and drinking for over 40 years. And he states that although there are fewer 18 to 20-year-olds drinking due to the higher drinking age, which is true, those who are still drinking underage and choose to drink underage, which is still a lot, are doing even more drinking. So what this means is, as of 2001, the rate of the 12 to 20-year-olds has gone up by 5%, or gone down by 5%, I'm sorry, but the rates of binge drinking have increasingly gone up by 5%. So even though there's been so many people that have stopped drinking because of it, the people that do still choose to drink are drinking so much that it becomes even more of a danger than just having more teenagers drinking. And as for the psychology in this I know Mallory mentioned this too. It is found and proven that when people are told to do something, it often brings an opposite reaction. So instead of telling 18-year-olds that are adults and have the rights of adults that they can't drink, I think it would be more effective to just make sure that young adults are simply educated on a safe drinking behavior, because it's like when you're little and you get told not to do something, like you're going to want to do it. And I feel like that's what causes the whole binge drinking culture we live in now, especially in college and especially in a college town like this where it is so prominent. I feel like people just feel the need to consume such large amounts of alcohol because it's not allowed. It makes it like a rebellious and thrilling act when it should just be any other everyday act. And the US government, I think, had all the right intentions and the right reasons for raising the legal drinking age from 18 to 21. But what they may not have prepared for or predicted is that this law did not necessarily benefit this country the way they intended it to, and may have even had an adverse result, making things worse. So I believe lowering the drinking age back to 18 years old could slowly reverse these negative effects, as well as give 18-year-olds back the rights they deserve as an adult, because that's thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, that was the same. So you probably don't have any questions.
I thought it was really good, and I thought you both had like good points. Like you had some similar points, but then you both had like some different things. But I was wondering, like, how do you think we can get like state legislators to kind of get talking about this issue again, or like get some federal change?
Well, what I was like, when I researched it, it looked like basically the problem, I think, is that it used to kind of be a state thing. Like for a while, there was a lot of different, and there still is some different laws with states. Like some states will allow you to drink with your parents in your home, and some don't allow it at all. There's all these different laws that differ between states that I've researched, and I think as a federal law, it's a lot harder to bring attention to something like that, because to them they just see it as one big like drunk, like how do you say it? Like one big statistic, rather than looking at it by state, which I think would be a lot more effective. But that's, I think, what was the problem, is that it became a federal law when they changed it to 21, rather than kind of letting it be up to the states. So that was, I think, the first time. I don't know if that was the first time, but the first time it kind of like became a federal issue rather than just like states being able to pick like when should the teenagers be allowed to drink.
Yeah. So, oh, okay. So one point that you brought up, like that was actually that I didn't even bring up, was about jury duty. And it's funny you brought that up because I've actually served, well, it'll be my second time in May, and I'm only about to turn 20. And I've served on jury duty almost twice now and can't drink. So I thought that was a great point that you brought up.
I had to do it twice, and I'm like, really? I have to go to court and decide if someone goes to jail, but I can't have a glass of wine.
Exactly. I thought that was a great point. So.
That's a good point. I have a question. My question is, has being, I don't know how to put this, hold on, just give me a second, let me think about it. Has being in a sorority made you kind of like feel the need to speak about this topic, or has it have no relation?
It definitely does have relation, just because like obviously I had that personal connection to high school that was already kind of just like one of those things where everyone in my neighborhood was like, why is this? That kind of makes me mad that it was running from the police, like they need to be able to drink, you know, that whole thing. But coming to college was I saw a lot more of the whole thing about binge drinking that I never realized in high school, because, you know, I was in a lot smaller high school. But here I just ended up being in a sorority. I feel like Greek life surrounds itself with a lot of alcohol related events.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's literally no way to avoid it. I just see it all the time. And I've even had personally a guy friend that has gone to the hospital because he was trying to pregame for going downtown to a bar because he couldn't drink at the bar. That's the type of like, I feel like just seeing that, it's like you shouldn't have to feel the need to consume a whole water bottle of alcohol because you can't do it when you get there, you know. And that's just like a small thing, but I know like one of my friends went to the hospital actually for that one, a guy in a fraternity, which just like wasn't something that, I don't know, kind of like hit me close to home again. I've just had a lot of personal experience with it, and coming to college and being in Greek life has definitely like heightened it that much more. And I've seen a lot more than I ever did in high school.
Yeah, same here. I never realized that binge drinking was a thing. Even like when I came to college, I see people like guzzling alcohol before they go to 5 Points or before they go to the tailgate. I'm like, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. What? No, why is this going on?
They'll get for another thing. It's like you can't walk into something if you have like an underage wristband, but they just drink a water bottle of something before they go, and it's just so like it's so dangerous rather than just being able to go and get like a drink. I just feel like it's like it has like a really bad effect.
I agree.
Who do choose to drink underage, which is so many.
Oh, I do like both your points that you guys made about binge drinking though, because like I do kind of agree with that because like back in high school I was super like I guess sheltered, so I couldn't like I guess a bunch of other people they would drink and stuff, and like when I went to college I feel like I went bonkers in the beginning, so I like went ham. So I can feel like I feel like I can kind of relate to that, So yeah.
That point. I feel like everyone in college sees it all the time, and it's just like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
When my parents grew up in it. Well, one of them grew up in Italy, and one of them grew up here when the drinking age was still. Well, my mom went to college in Canada, and the drinking age is 18 there.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it was 21 in the U.S., she went to college somewhere where it was 18, and she was just saying how when she visits here, she sees so much more binge drinking than she did when she was in Canada, and you were just allowed to, legally drink. She was like, it does make such a difference. Yeah.
Be good. All right, Viv, you're up.
Okay, so I'm going to be talking about actually increasing the age to.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the usage of tobacco remains the leading cause of preventable death in the United States. According to the Institute of Medicine, a program unit of the National Academies said that the increase in the tobacco smoking age will have considerable impacts on the public health and simply save lives. Increasing the age for the usage of tobacco will significantly reduce the number of young adult smokers from getting access to tobacco illegally, reduce smoking-caused deaths, as well as improve the health of adolescents. There are lots and lots of kids and underage smokers. Tobacco companies purposefully target kids and younger adults. They intentionally market to the kids and young adults to recruit replacement smokers as well as protect the company profits. Now, high schoolers, they tend to acquire a nicotine addiction. They tend to acquire a nicotine addiction because they think it's like cool or whatever. We all know that students that are under the age of 18 in high school can easily get access to tobacco products through their upperclassmen friends. Back in high school, I personally knew like a lot of students that would just pay other like older students to get their supply of tobacco products. The tobacco products have large amounts of nicotine and like other harmful chemicals in them. Like nicotine is like super addictive. Younger adults and adolescents are more susceptible to the effects due to the fact that their brain is still developing. Raising the age would counteract that problem and reduce the likelihood that the younger high schoolers would get access to the tobacco products, as well as reduce the risk of becoming addicted to smoking. Approximately 350 kids under the age of 18 become regular smokers daily. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, smoking causes more than 480,000 deaths each year in the United States. Smokers are more likely to get lung cancer, stroke, and even cardiovascular disease compared to non-smokers. Smoking causes more deaths each year than HIV, illegal drug use, alcohol use, motor vehicle-related injuries, and firearm-related incidents combined. Smoking overall diminishes health, increases absence from work, and increases healthcare utilization and costs. Smoking can cause cancer almost anywhere and everywhere, like in your body. It can be present in your bladder, blood, cervix, colon, rectum, kidneys, your like liver, pancreas, stomach, like anywhere in your lungs. A study showed that about 95% of tobacco-dependent smokers use tobacco before their 21st birthday. The U.S. Surgeon General states that if the following trend continues, about 5.6 million of today's youth will die from premature smoking. If nobody smoked, 1 in every 3 cancer deaths in the United States would not happen. Smoking at such a young age would cause earlier death. You must be wondering the relevancy of this policy change. Well, according to the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, it's a leading nonprofit organization that advocates for tobacco-free kids. They state that as of April 18, 2019, 12 states and at least 450 localities have raised the minimum legal sale of tobacco to be 21. States including Arkansas, California, Delaware, Illinois, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Oregon, Hawaii, Maine, Utah, Washington, and Virginia have passed state laws regarding the sale of tobacco. And localities such as New York City, Chicago, San Antonio, Boston, Cleveland, Minneapolis, Kansas City, and Washington, D.C. have also joined in on it. We should make this change nationwide. Increase the minimum smoking age from 18 to 21 will have many positive effects. It will prevent high schoolers and younger kids from getting access to tobacco products illegally. It will reduce the number of deaths relating to smoking yearly, reduce healthcare costs, as well as improve the health of adolescents. Many people think that helping smokers quit is insufficient, as well as preventing the younger crowd from taking a puff of their first cigarette. In order to solve that, we should do everything we can to prevent young people from smoking and save lives. Increasing the tobacco age to 21 will help achieve these goals. Thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question. I thought it was interesting how you brought up that like 1 out of 3 deaths, like if people weren't smoking, that it would like save 1 out of 3 deaths. So I thought that was really interesting. Did you like what made you want to do this topic?
Well, actually, I just asked my sister about what I should do because I had no idea what to do. And I don't know a lot of smokers anyways, I guess, but like I guess I don't know actually. I don't know why I chose this topic. I guess it's so I don't know. She said it was super relevant because you know those like little Snapchat things that those like Daily Mail things or whatever. There was a thing that passed or something like that. That's why I think it was relevant, so I just chose it.
Yeah, it was an interesting topic.
Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, I have a question. My question is, do you feel like if we did raise the age, do you feel like it would kind of backfire like the drinking age did when they raised it?
Actually, I don't know. I feel like smoking, I don't know. Let me think.
I feel like I personally know more people that drink than smoke. I think, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of weird that like the drinking age is 21, but the tobacco age is...
Yeah, you can kill your lungs at 18, but your kidney can give it some time.
I feel like smoking is just as bad as alcohol. So I don't really know. I have no idea.
In where I'm from in New York, they just passed like this kind of law that in order to get any sort of tobacco product, lighters, anything, you have to be 21. And I just thought it was interesting because you can literally go the county over. You can go into New York City and you can get this stuff. So it's like, do we get a federal law, but then does it backfire like the drinking? So I feel like that's kind of like a difficult topic. But again, like you guys were saying, I feel like there's more people out there that drink than smoke, and you see all this, especially at college, it's more, there's this big focus on alcohol, I feel like, because I think it's easy. Do you think it's easier to obtain than tobacco? Like, what do you think about that?
I don't know. I feel like tobacco products, it's way easier to get it than alcohol, I think. I don't know why, but like I guess since like you can purchase it at 18 like now. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it.
And even like the hype is bigger like when you turn 21 as opposed to like, whenever you turn 18.
Hype as like drinking, it's kind of just like, oh, but that's.
Do you think people like under 18 like want to do it so bad nowadays because they can't? Like just like people want to binge drink like before they're 21 because
yeah, I definitely think that's when, I don't know, like the point that you guys made about like if someone tells you not to do something, you want to do it even more. And if you do it, end up doing it, it makes you look like cool, I guess. And that's why people do it. Like that jewel addiction that everyone has, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I can't mess with that.
What was that?
I can't mess with it.
I don't know.
This guy literally in my class, he does it in the middle of lecture when she's not looking. I'm like, is that really necessary?
Ridiculous.
Is that really necessary though?
Like some people, they just have like they just start that addiction just because like it's cool. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe
that is not cool, girl.
That's just I don't know. But yeah.
I think that's a wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I'll just stop the broadcast in a second, and then I'll just send the link in our group chat. Is that good?
Okay. Like on the Blackboard, or are you gonna put it like email?
Or I can put it in like our little group discussion board that we had about like the plan for today.
Okay, sounds good.
And then we can upload it or something.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Everyone did great.
Thanks. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.